Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation. Well, in order to tell you this story, we have to go all the way back to my childhood and discuss it in great detail. No, really, Rob Zombie actually thought that was a good idea. Ever since I was a kid, I never felt like anyone understood me. All I wanted to do was kill animals, but I guess that's just not a healthy way of having fun. At least that's what society tells me. On top of that, my redneck stepdad wanted me to get a haircut so he could stop making jokes about me that could get him canceled on Twitter.
Give me a fucking break, he's probably a queer. He's gonna grow up, end up cutting his dick and balls off and changing his name to Michelle.
Hell, even the kids at school didn't like me, even though they were just as big as sociopaths as I was. You'd think I'd fit right in. This one cunt even had the audacity to play victim when I decided to rough him up a bit. Thankfully, I was able to put that shit to an end. You'd think Halloween would be the one time of the year where I'm actually happy, but no. Both my sister and my mom were too busy slugging it up to take me trick-or-treating. So that's when I decided to give everyone in that house a little trick of my own. But of course I spared the baby because I'm not some sort of savage. But I guess the police didn't take too kindly to my tricks and I was sent to an asylum. And apparently what I did caused my mom so much pain that she ended up shooting herself without even caring that she still had a baby in the house. So after that, I grew up in the asylum and somehow gained superhuman strength. I guess you could call it puberty, but I don't remember learning about this in health class. After that, I decided to move back to my hometown and meet up with that sister of mine that I spared. I thought we'd be able to get along just fine, but she was mean to me. She threw me on my own house, and then she shot me with a gun. But little did I know that even after being shot point blank in the face by my own sister, my real story was just about to begin. Now how the hell does that make sense? Well...
You tell me, I didn't want a sequel to this shit!
Joking! Use the front fucking door, the bell's working!
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was the first movie that I can recall where just its very existence got on my nerves. The movie that preceded it was bad enough. It was a lousy remake that tried way too hard to be edgy, and its only purpose seemed to be to stroke the ego of its director. But at least it had closure. When the sequel was announced, I was just like, are you kidding me? Michael was shot. Point blank. In the face. That's about as dead as you can get without burning him alive. And that's when it hit me. Rob is trying to bring back the cliche of resurrecting Michael Myers, no matter how badly he gets fucked up, just for the sake of making sequels. Did anyone even like this cliche when the original series did it? From what I can gather, the general consensus seems to be that this didn't even need to be a long-running series to begin with.
You know, it's ironic that the original Halloween inspired so many countless dozens of imitations.
Right.
And for 2 years we got nothing but movies in which their only ambition was to litter the screen with dead teenagers.
Right.
Now we get Halloween 2, and it's a pale imitation of the imitations. It's not worthy of the original film.
The guy was scary once. Well, you see him another time, he's not so scary. Some films don't need sequels. I know there's a tremendous commercial impulse to do it.
In the whole Halloween series, Halloween 2 is the only sequel that seems like it had a purpose of being made. The first one ended on a cliffhanger with Michael Myers on the loose. You can just hold that in your mind, that unresolved feeling that he's still out there. Or if you want closure to the story and you want to see what happens next, then you can watch Halloween 2. It's nice to have that closure, but it also sort of demystifies the first movie.
It's another Halloween sequel?
Yeah.
It's one of the best Halloween sequels, but that's like the faintest praise possible. Because the Halloween franchise is lame.
Now before I get into Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, there's just a few more things I want to bring up about the first movie and Rob Zombie himself as an artist. Think of this section of the video as an addendum to my video on the first film. Man, sometimes I just have to wonder just what was going through Rob's head as he was making this movie. Well, not too long ago, something came out that kinda gave me a new perspective on Rob himself and his version of Halloween. I am of course talking about his interview with Joe Rogan. Now, if you saw my video on Rob's first Halloween film, you know I wasn't really a fan of the guy's work. I'm hesitant to call myself a fan now, but this interview, it was just a really fascinating insight on the guy. I feel like most people just assume that he's a heavy metal artist first and his films are more or less an extension of the Rob Zombie brand. But apparently, he wanted to be a filmmaker long before he became a heavy metal artist.
What made you make that leap into horror films?
Well, I always wanted to make movies. That was always my main goal in life.
Really? Before music?
Well, let me back it up. I loved everything equally, but as a kid, it all seemed unattainable. Growing up, I mean, it's like you can have a crappy band in the garage with your friends, but it's not going to do a thing. And then we had a Super 8 camera, so we'd make crappy Super 8 movies, but none of it seemed realistic. But then as the band started taking off, and which seemed odd on its own, and there was a chance to make music videos, I'm like, fuck it, I'm directing these music videos. This will be film school for me, and that's what it sort of became.
He also goes on about his childhood and how he always felt invisible to the other kids, and how that affected the way he would watch horror movies during his youth.
You have like these almost like mutant society psycho murder people that
I don't know.
But people fucking love it, man.
I've always dug like outsider mentality. Like anything that involved like I think it started as a kid because like a lot of people can relate to this. I didn't feel like I fit in. Like I was like weird. I didn't fit in. I didn't get like what were the cool shoes to wear or the right freaking Izod shirt. I didn't understand. And I think when I would watch the monster movies, the monster was always that mentality. Like King Kong's like, hey man, I'm just trying to get along. Why is everyone shooting at me? And Frankenstein's like, hey, I was just born yesterday. Why are you trying to kill me? Like, and I think as a weird kid, you relate to the monster.
This explains so much. This is why he tried to make Michael Myers into a character to sympathize with. This is why he made every other character in the film super unlikable. I guess that's also why he made Laurie and every other high school girl super fucking annoying, because that's just what he was exposed to.
And then the day we graduated, we were at like hanging out around McDonald's, and the main asshole jock kid came up who would be your worst enemy. He's suddenly like, hey man, I'm going to college. Where do you guys get like your cool clothes and stuff? Like, wait a minute. It was 4 years of torture from you and your douchebag friends, and now the day we graduate, you're like, hey, you guys were... So that's what I knew. Everyone's so fucking insecure, it doesn't matter. And then that next day, I was like, I don't care anymore.
And speaking of that movie, he also goes into the production of his first Halloween film.
Probably a lot of meddling. Is that something that's a difficult thing to manage, or do you not have to deal with that anymore?
I had to deal with that a lot when I made the 2 Halloween movies. Like, my phone was ringing all the time when I'm on set working, and it'd be like, we think it should be this. I'm like, well,
while you're working?
Yeah, well, if I did that, then everything we shot doesn't match. And it makes no sense. It's just like, I remember working on one movie that never happened, and whatever was the #1 movie from that weekend was exactly the notes I would get for what we were working on. It didn't... And I swear to God, because it was around the time of Private Parts, and Private Parts was #1. I go, I guarantee you when I walk into the office, they're going to say, can we get Howard Stern in this movie? And they did.
No!
Yes, it didn't matter what it was. If it was Starship Troopers, they go, can we get giant bugs in this movie suddenly? It wasn't the Halloween movies. It was another movie that never actually happened. But
if you've seen some of my previous videos, you know that one subject matter that pops up every now and then is studio meddling. This is intentional. I almost want this to become a running gag on my channel for a very specific reason. I want this shit to stop happening! So, I gotta give Rob Zombie credit on this one. Whenever I watch his remake of Halloween or other movies made by him, I never get the impression that his movies are just victims of studio heads that don't know what they're doing. I feel like I'm watching the movies that he wanted to make. Now, does that mean that I've completely changed my mind on his version of Halloween? Not really. I still think his version of Halloween is annoying and trashy and stupid, but an insight on the director himself does make the film a little more interesting to think about, and that's something you can't really say about a lot of other bad movies, especially ones that are tied to franchises. As for his other movies, well, despite enjoying Sid Haig's performance as Captain Spaulding, I'm not really that motivated to rewatch The Devil's Rejects because the movie just annoyed me for the most part.
kill.
As for his music, I've grown to like it a little bit, yeah. I really like his music video for Never Going to Stop. Then again, I'm a huge Clockwork Orange fan, so of course I'm going to dig it. His music overall is still not something I occasionally listen to on my own, but if someone else puts it on, I can tolerate it. Apparently, the only kind of metal that my brain allows me to get super into is symphonic metal from Finland. Alexa, play Nightwish.
Shuffling songs by Nightwish on Amazon Music.
Fuck yeah. You know what? The rest of this video is just gonna be me listening to Nightwish. Fuck you guys that wanted a review. I wanna listen to some Nightwish, damn it! I've been told that his concerts are super awesome and elaborate, and yeah, I think it's really cool that someone with filmmaking experience can put that same amount of effort into his concerts, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like the guy's just kind of style over substance. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a critic, and Rob Zombie is clearly not obligated to hold my opinion to a high regard.
I used to be upset by reviews until I saw who wrote them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's
And
a
then you go,
problem.
"That guy? I don't know, I
A
care."
lot of critics are critics because they really wanted to be writers. They just don't have a lot to contribute, and so they just shit on things.
And it's just like when you're young and you're new and you're reading it, you think that the guy's writing it, writing all badass. You're like, oh, this dude must look like Lemmy. He must be this hard-ass guy. And then you see that guy wrote it? Oh, fuck him. And fuck everyone else who ever writes anything to me. I don't give a shit.
Alright, so now that we've got that out of the way, we can finally put the first film to rest and move on to the sequel. It can't be that bad, right? I mean, it's not like we have to dwell on Michael Myers' childhood anymore, which means you don't have to deal with this little shit anymore.
I'm not listening!
Lucky. What did you say, sir?
This also means we no longer have to recreate shit from the original Halloween. Yup, we have. Nowhere to go but up. Okay, so I'm gonna be real with you guys. There is a very specific reason why I'm talking about these movies. I was around middle school when I tried to get into horror movies and I checked out the original Halloween. It was fun, it was thrilling, it was clever, and it's still up there with The Shining and The Lighthouse as some of my favorite horror movies of all time. During this time, I had this friend that kept telling me, oh, that version sucks, and you need to watch the remake because it's way better and actually scary. And, well, you know. A couple of years later, we would watch the sequel, and I thought I was prepared for how bad this movie was just from watching the first movie. I was wrong. This is a very special kind of bad. You could say that about the first movie, but the most I can say about it is that it's just straight up annoying and obnoxious. You could say that about this film as well, but above all else, it's just baffling. It is genuine insanity incarnate. And apparently there's a director's cut of the film that has even more baffling shit in it. I'm writing this part of the script right after my first rewatch after all of these years, and I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck I even just watched. So yeah, if you thought the first movie was as bad as I did, you might want to sit down for this one. Wait, do people stand up and watching YouTube videos? Also, if you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol, I am not joking here, buckle the fuck up.
Things are gonna get crazy!
So much like the first film, this movie also begins with making you read. Already a downgrade. Although credit where credit is due, this movie isn't lazy and pretentious enough to just use a quote from one of its own characters. No, instead the movie takes its time to educate us on what a white horse is. In the subconscious, a white horse is linked to instinct, purity, and the drive to release powerful and emotional forces such as rage, with ensuing chaos and destruction. Well, that certainly sounds deep for a Halloween movie. Apparently this is an excerpt from something called the Subconscious Psychosis of Dreams. I'm assuming it's a book or a lecture or something, but when I tried to look this thing up, most of the articles I found were from people defending this movie. So I can't really say I know how reputable the Subconscious Psychosis of Dreams is. Who even wrote this thing? I don't even see an author on here. So after that, we cut to Michael Myers' mom as she visits Michael at the asylum?
No! No! No!
Really? We're doing this shit again? What makes this even more embarrassing is just the fact that they couldn't even cast the original child actor because he obviously grew up a bit since the first film. So why even bother? And on top of that, the only thing these two have in common is their hair. And as much as the last kid annoyed me, I have to admit, he was a way better actor. His rage felt real, whereas with this kid, I don't know if it's his direction, but I just get the vibe that he just doesn't care. This is especially jarring when you still have the first film in mind.
I hate you! Shut the fuck up! I'm gonna get out of here! Just let me out!
Your mother has passed away.
She'll be back.
No, I'm afraid she won't be coming to see you anymore.
I'll see her again, but I won't see you.
I mean, I hope she comes back. She told me she'd take me to McDonald's later, and I'm kinda bored right now. So the reason why we're seeing this shit again is because Michael's mom apparently left him a gift in this part of the timeline. And that gift is a plastic white horse. Now, where was this thing in the first film? I don't know, I didn't see it anywhere in Michael's room. He didn't take it with him when he escaped. I didn't see it in that abandoned house of his. I just hate sequels that do shit like this, that messes with the chronology of its predecessor. It reminds me of The Lion King 2 when they established that there were lions that were basically Scar apologists and took his side, and Scar apparently mated with this lion and had a son. Like, where the hell were any of these people when Simba came back to fuck shit up on Pride Rock? This movie just started, I'm already comparing it to a direct-to-video Disney sequel. Michael then talks about how the horse reminds him of a dream he had, then it cuts to 15 years later, right after Laurie shoots Michael in the face. I have to admit, this is a pretty effective scene. The chilling music, meshed up with the imagery of Laurie walking slowly down the middle of the road, is pretty spot on, and it feels like a realistic reaction to having murdered someone in self-defense.
Laurie, is that you? Laurie? Laurie? Stop, 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 stop.
I climbed in the wall.
It's actually pretty natural to go into a silent shock like this instead of constantly screaming like you'll often see in slasher films. So after the cop takes the gun away from Laurie, we immediately cut to... Laurie constantly screaming in the hospital. Look, I'm not going to act like this is an unrealistic reaction or anything, it's just... You just showed us a chilling scene without having to be so fucking loud. And it was refreshing considering how annoying and in-your-face the first movie was. But I guess ear-wrenching screaming is the only way Rob Zombie knows how to make effective drama. He is a heavy metal artist after all.
Whoops, did I just say that out loud?
But seriously, watching these two movies back to back will give you a fucking migraine. I guarantee it. We then cut to the abandoned house where two bodies are being dragged out and— Oh, hi, Dr. Loomis! Your eyes look pretty good considering they were crushed into your head in the first film. Yeah, sorry, Rob. I ain't buying this shit. I've watched Game of Thrones. Loomis should either be blind or fucking dead. We then cut to the surgeons fixing Laurie. And this scene goes on much longer than needed. Why do we even need to see this? It just feels like you're just showing this to make us cringe and nothing else. Are we supposed to be impressed by all of these gore effects? I mean, I guess it's impressive how much detail went into this, but just tell a story. We then cut to the two men assigned to carry Michael Myers' body.
You gotta look at the naked chick. She was F-I-N-E fine. I heard a story about a couple of meat wagon boys fucking corpses over in Essex. I ain't never had the urge till tonight.
What am I even supposed to say to this? There's a corpse fucking joke in a Halloween movie. I'm not asking for my horror movies to be completely sterile, far from it. But this is just desperate. None of the great horror movies tried this hard to be edgy, just for the sake of it. I mean, yeah, there's a steak fucking joke in The Lighthouse, but at least that was actually funny and was necessary to show the deteriorating mental health of our protagonists. This feels like the kind of joke Family Guy would make when they're running out of ideas, so they just act as edgy as possible, hoping someone will laugh.
You have a beautiful child, Mrs. Roberts.
Also, every time this dude talks about the naked chick, he keeps looking back as if she's back there next to Michael, which, if that's the case, fucking really? Is it normal to put the body of a victim next to the body of the victimizer while transporting them both? That sounds really dumb. Admittedly, the scene right after is pretty funny. I doubt it was trying to be, but screw it. It made me laugh either way.
You're like, cow! What? Cow!
So, the driver is obviously dead, but as for Mr. Necromantic over here... Okay, I can't be the only one who thinks this guy's acting is a bit off. He sounds less like he's been in a car wreck and more like he's getting pegged from behind and doesn't know how to feel about it.
Fuck.
Whoop! Jump scare. You know what that means. Michael is still alive and ready to kill.
Help me! Help me!
What? Who's gonna help you out here, in the middle of nowhere? And then Michael makes his kill. And much like the first film, we don't feel anything for the victim because of how fucking awful they were anyway. Also, I hate the way this scene is shot. It's too dark and too close to see where Michael is cutting. But I guess I should be shocked anyway because gore and ripped flesh. Oh, okay, so I guess he was beheaded. Would have been way more effective if this shot wasn't so tight. So after Michael kills the necrophile, he looks down the road and sees... the stupidest goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life. It's Michael Myers' mom, dressed in all white, standing next to a white horse. Oh my god. I mean, yeah, this thing was foreshadowed with that dream Michael talked about earlier, but that doesn't make it any less random and ridiculous. It reminds me of that one time they put an off-road dune buggy chase scene in a Star Trek movie. Like, what's this thing even doing here? I have to admit, I was hesitant to even talk about this movie because of how hard it is to put into words how dumb this scene is, and the movie only gets crazier from here. So after that, we then cut to Lori in the hospital who sneaks out of her room. Now, I'm not exactly an expert in healthcare, in fact I dropped out of college and had no interest in med school, but shouldn't this woman be in ICU so this is less likely to happen? I mean, yeah, the surgeons fixed her up real nicely, but she's still pretty messed up. She looks like she could rip her whole body apart just by tripping on a wire or something. She then visits her friend Annie in the hospital, who just barely survived the events of the first film.
You cannot be in here. You need to go back to your own room. You need to...
Yeah, you're a little late on that.
Nurse Daniels, please report to emergency room A.
Oh, honey, I need my help getting back to your room.
You know, she can easily walk back to Annie's room as soon as you have your back turned. I mean, even if she says she's fine, isn't it your obligation to put the need of the patient before the need of the company? Oh, wait. This movie takes place in America. Never mind.
I need something for my head.
Oh my god, she's having head problems now? Put her in ICU, damn it!
Nurse, I need something for my head.
How it feels to chew 5 gum.
Okay, credit for trying to do something different, but this raises so many questions. Shouldn't this woman have been running and screaming before opening this door? I mean, it made sense for Lori to be in shock earlier because she thought Michael was dead and there was no urging threat, just shock at the aftermath. Also, what did Michael even do to this woman? Usually he just jabs straight into his enemies or just cuts their throats, and he doesn't just let some rando escape. But here, did he just fling his knife in an upward motion so the tip of the knife can make the small but effective cut and then let her escape slowly? Did Michael know that she would walk through this door while Laurie is sitting there freaking out when the nurse starts bleeding everywhere? Did Michael just punch this woman in the nose really hard? Yeah, you know what? That's what it looks like. Wait, if that's the case, and oh, fuck it. So then Laurie runs away, and I guess being scared makes you a more competent runner, despite being heavily injured. And then Michael kills the nurse by stabbing her over and over and over and over again. Because Rob Zombie thinks that repetition is cool, but like, this just feels so cartoony. Especially when this woman is in a bloody mess and the knife is just completely clean. And just when you think it's over, one more stab for good measure. I mean, are you sure this isn't just a comedy?
One for the Commandant! One for the Corps! I guess the Corps don't get theirs.
So once Laurie makes it out of the hospital, she hides in the security office. It's here where she's found by character actress Margot Martindale. Oh, sorry, I meant to say character actor Richard Greeley. You know, that dude from Office Space. Sorry, I still got BoJack Horseman on my mind.
What the Christ are you doing here? You're gonna freeze your ass off out here. Put this on before they blame me for you catching pneumonia.
The nurse is dead.
Pneumonia. No, it's going to be okay. Listen, it's going to be all right.
Oh my god, just listen to her!
Just let me go get my car, okay? Just please, just a second. I'll be back in just a second. Yeah, nobody's gonna hurt you, honey. It'll be all right.
Yeah, if a wounded woman is screaming bloody murder and your first instinct is to leave her alone and say, "Nobody's gonna hurt you, baby, don't worry about it," you probably deserve to be axed off. So, of course Michael kills this guy, which is a shame too because he's a pretty good actor from what I've seen. They freaking wasted him. After that, Michael breaks through the security office. And then...
Fuck you!
You can't be serious! The first 23 minutes of this movie was a dream? What? The fake-out dream sequence is by far one of the most annoying and most complained about horror cliches in the history of the genre. And you dedicate a whole chunk of the movie to it? Are you shitting me?
A dream sequence. People were groaning in the theater when that happened. I mean, I want to go up and punch a hole in the screen.
They were groaning when that happened. How about the next dream sequence? Another It's Only a Dream.
I can't stand the dream sequences. Why do they do that in the movie? If there's anything that annoys an audience, it's the dream sequence. I hate that stunt. It's old, it's cheap, it's a lousy gimmick, and I wish they would stop doing it.
I mean, I guess that explains this stupid scene, but this raises so many other questions. Did she dream about Loomis making it out with his eyes intact? Did she dream about the surgery scenes? Did she dream about Annie making it out alive? Did she dream about those creeps that wanted to fuck her dead friend? Did she dream about Michael Myers seeing Did she dream about Michael Myers seeing his mother next to a white horse? This is impressive. This was the very moment where I realized just how bad this movie was going to be. You know what? Fuck it. Part 1 of this video is going to end here. Everything you saw was a dream, and most of it didn't even matter. See you in a few months.
Dream, 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 dream. Dream, dream, dream when I want you. In my arms when I want you. And all your charms whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream, dream, dream.
to hold me tight.